The Buffalo Bills trade out of this pick and allow the Kansas City Chiefs to come up to get 4-2-1 burner Xavier Worthy.
I love it. I love it. All you need to do is get some more speed for Patrick Mahomes. Remember when he had Tyreek Hill? Well, this kid flies just like him. It's a great move to go up and get him and add him to an offense.
That the Chiefs' perfect offseason continues. Hollywood Brown, I think he has a lot of potential and high upside. He was, at worst, the third best wide receiver that could be available in this free agency.
You know, you guys, I'm just going to go ahead and jump straight into the Kansas City Chiefs at this point because this team, man, really is starting to put together a really good offseason, and because of that, it looks like the roster has gotten a lot better. They were able to add and re-sign some key pieces in free agency that I think is going to help this team out a lot, and to add to that, they also just had a really good draft class, in my opinion, that made both the offense and the defense better, which is just insane to think about. And man, if these rookies that they just drafted turn out to be what I think and what most people think they're going to be, this team is going to be extremely scary to play against once again. But before we get into why I believe that, if you like Kansas City Chiefs content just like this, make sure to go down and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any Chiefs videos for the remainder of this offseason. Okay, so to get back on topic with the Kansas City Chiefs, this team, of course, is coming off a season where they found a way to win the Super Bowl, even though everyone thought they weren't going to. I feel like around mid-season, towards the end of the season, everyone was saying it wasn't the Chiefs' year, they didn't have enough firepower to get it done, but man, oh man, did Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes find a way to go out there and get the job done and win themselves their second Super Bowl in a row and their third Super Bowl in the last 5 years. This team really is starting to build a dynasty that could potentially be the best dynasty that we've ever seen, and a big reason they've been able to do that is because of the way they've approached the offseason year in and year out. They've put together great offseason after great offseason, and I think you can say the exact same thing about the offseason that they've put together so far this year. When it comes to the offense, the Chiefs came into this offseason with one very, very big need that they needed to focus on, and that need was the receiver position, and man, oh man, did they make it a priority to go fill that hole. The first thing they did was go out and sign that guy, Marquise Brown, to a one-year deal worth $7 million. Marquise Brown is one of the fastest receivers in the entire NFL, and he's not one of those guys that just has speed. He's also a pretty solid route runner, and he has pretty good hands, which is why this pickup made a lot of sense to me. We know Andy Reid loves speed at the receiver position, and he does a great job at using them to the best of their ability, and I don't expect anything less from this guy right here. Now, they didn't just stop there. They didn't add anything else in free agency, but they did add something in the first round of this year's draft by trading up to pick number 28 to draft Xavier Worthy out of Texas. Xavier Worthy, as most of you guys know, is the fastest player that we've ever seen enter the NFL, considering he broke the record for the 40 time at the combine, and you see that speed all over his tape. If you leave this guy one-on-one, he is going to burn you over the top, and that is a huge, huge plus for an offense. Marquise Brown has some elite speed that can beat you over the top, but Xavier Worthy is just on a whole nother level, so the fact that you have both of these guys on the same team together is just absolutely ridiculous. Teams are always going to be worried about getting beat over the top, so they're going to make Patrick Mahomes' life a lot easier. They're going to give him a lot of cushion to work with, and that makes it easier to operate the offense down the field, which is something that most people don't want to see Patrick Mahomes have. I mean, we just saw Patrick Mahomes have one of the worst receiver cores in the entire NFL, and he still found a way to win the Super Bowl, so I can imagine what he's going to be able to do with a great receiving core like he has now. Now, of course, an issue that we've obviously ran into is that Rashee Rice is kind of being an idiot this offseason, and he's gotten himself into some trouble, so we're not exactly sure what's going to happen with him, but if I had to take a guess, he's probably going to be suspended for at least a couple games, if not like half the season, which is going to hurt this team. I mean, Rashee Rice broke out as a rookie, and he was exactly what they drafted him to be, so to lose him for half the season is a big blow, but as long as you have him down the stretch and in the playoffs, I don't think it'll end up hurting you too bad. And man, with all those three receivers combined with what you have at the tight end position and Travis Kelce, who you just extended, this weapon group starts to look pretty good pretty fast. I think we're going to see all of these guys contribute in a big way, and I just can't wait to see how Andy Reid creatively uses all of these guys together, because I know it's going to be an absolute masterclass to watch. Now, even though receiver was the biggest weakness on this team, it still wasn't the only thing the Chiefs wanted to go out and get, and they showed us that by also going out and getting some offensive linemen. They of course already have Joe Tooney, Creed Humphrey, and Trey Smith depth on the interior, which is one of the best interior offensive lines in the entire NFL. But when it comes to the tackle position, they were a bit weak there, so they had to go out and address that. And they did that by going out in the second round of this year's draft and taking Kingsley out of BYU. This is a guy that different people are going to see in a different way. Size at 6'6", 325, and he's a pretty good athlete on top of that. He does have bust potential because he's a little bit raw, but if you can just develop this guy the right way, he could honestly be one of the best offensive tackles in the NFL in just a few years. So while yes, you're taking a bit of a risk, every draft pick is a risk, and I think this is one of the best risks you could have taken. So with that addition to the offensive line, I'm pretty confident in what they're going to be, and that's going to make up a passing attack that's really, really good. And when you add on top of that you're going to have a good rushing attack that most people don't take into consideration, this offense overall is going to be one of the best, like it is every single year. Isaiah Pacheco, of course, has turned out to be one of the greatest 7th round picks that we've ever seen, and I don't expect him to slow down in production at all, especially since the interior of the offensive line is staying the same. I think he's going to have another efficient, really good year. And then to go along with him, you went out and you added the rugby player, Luis Rees-Zammit, who I also think could have a bigger role than people are imagining. He's obviously an absolute freak of an athlete, and he was extremely good at rugby, so he's going to at least bring some type of talent to the NFL. And while a lot of that might be in the new kickoff rules, I also think we're going to see Andy Reid use him in a creative way here and there on the offense. He's a guy that I could see becoming a gadgety guy for the Chiefs, and I love having 1 or 2 gadget guys on your roster that are extremely talented because they can give you big-time explosive plays when you need them. And when you take that into consideration and you look at everything else that this offense has done this offseason and what they've actually built out now, this offense is going to be one of the best offenses in the NFL once again, just like we see them do all the time. And the fact they're going to be able to pair it with a defense like they have is just absolutely unfair, because just like the defense was last year, I think they're going to be extremely good with Spags calling the shots once again. The biggest signing here was obviously Chris Jones. He's the middle of this defense, and he is what makes them run. So signing him back was a huge deal. And then when you have all of these pieces around him, like Charles Omenihu coming back from his injury, George Karlaftis, who's going to play really good, you have a defensive line that's going to be able to get for the passer. And then behind that, you have linebackers like Drew Tranquill, Nick Bolton, and Leo Chanel, who can all play the linebacker position at a high level. And I think you can say the same thing for all of the DBs in the secondary on this team, because Trent McDuffie was an all-pro, and you have him as your number 1 corner. You've got Jalen Watson, who I like a decent amount, and you've got Joshua Williams, who I like a decent amount. And when it comes to safety, you've got Brian Cook, the young guy. You've got Justin Reed, who's a really good player. And I just think that this defense has the talent to be really good again. And considering they were able to hold on to Spags, makes me believe that they're going to be extremely dominant. So when looking at this logically, this team looks like a team that's once again going to find themselves being true contenders with a great shot at winning their 3rd Super Bowl in a row.